Microsoft shocked the gaming world this week with the announcement that it had acquired ZeniMax Media, parent company of Bethesda, in a $7.5 billion cash deal. The move adds 8 more studios to Xbox's first-party portfolio, including Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, and more. There is a lot to digest here, both about the immediate deal itself, as well as the short and long-term fallout. For now, though, in the immediate wake of the announcement, here are my 5 big takeaways, questions, and thoughts. First, about the Elder Scrolls 6. We do know that the previously announced deals for timed PS5 exclusivity on Arcane's Deathloop and Tango's Tokyo Ghostwire will be honored, but beyond that, Microsoft will have a lot of options. Take the Elder Scrolls 6, for example, the next game from Todd Howard and his team that will follow Starfield, which that game was revealed in 2018 and is expected either late next year or in 2022. While the Elder Scrolls 6 has technically been announced, nothing about it is known, let alone set in stone. Microsoft could opt to hold on to it forever as a console exclusive, or it could make it a timed exclusive and release it on PS5, say, a year later. Or it could make it a straight-up multi-platform game from the jump and offer the Day One Game Pass incentive for Xbox players. Odds are that Microsoft will choose the most lucrative path. It's got a $7.5 billion expenditure to recoup after all, and there's a case to be made either way. Microsoft could use the Elder Scrolls, already one of the biggest franchises in gaming, as a massive carrot to dangle at the end of the stick for players not yet in the Xbox ecosystem, particularly given the fact that by the time the Elder Scrolls 6 actually releases, it will have been more than a decade since Elder Scrolls 5. That would be Skyrim. Or it could just put it out on PS5 straight up, which is certain to have a very large installed base, and reap a publisher's cut of every single copy sold on PS5. It's going to be fascinating to see how all of this unfolds. Thought number 2, Todd Howard is probably contractually locked in. Executive producer at Bethesda Game Studios Todd Howard was no doubt already making an excellent living at Bethesda, and hey, deservedly so given all of his accomplishments. He's also been an employee there for 25 years. And while Bethesda was a private company up until now, it's possible that Todd Howard had equity in ZeniMax, given both his tenure and stature. If so, he stands to make a lot of money out of this, like, F it, I'm gonna go buy an island and live on the beach forever kind of money. Odds are this acquisition specifically locks Howard and possibly some of the other senior creatives at Bethesda in for a minimum number of years, with possible escalator payouts in place the longer they stick around as newly minted Microsoft employees. Simply put, Microsoft will not want Todd Howard to leave immediately. He is an immense part of Bethesda's value to Microsoft, and hey, we seemingly saw something like this back when BioWare co-founders Ray Musica and Greg Zeschuk both left their studio exactly 5 years after EA acquired it. Hopefully, Todd Howard still wants to continue making games, but I would set a reminder in your calendar for 5 years from right now to see if we see a similar retirement announcement from Todd Howard. Thought number 3, did this deal come about after the Warner Brothers deal came off the table? It seems like just yesterday that Microsoft was in the mix to acquire Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and its handful of exceptionally talented studios, including Rocksteady, Monolith, and NetherRealm. Parent company AT&T seems to have pulled any possible deal with anyone off of the table, and so now it's fair to wonder, did Microsoft move quickly on Bethesda in the aftermath of that? Well, a trusted source tells me that in fact, a Microsoft ZeniMax deal was almost locked up 2 years ago, but fell apart. It's obviously done now though, and so the question flips. Is it possible that Microsoft could have had both Bethesda and WB? Thought number 4, Xbox is now the home for Western RPGs. Sure, PlayStation's got Final Fantasy XVI, but if you like Western RPGs, Xbox is now the definitive home for those. Microsoft now owns the following studios and IPs: Bethesda Game Studios and The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Starfield, Obsidian with Avowed, Pillars of Eternity, and The Outer Worlds, In Exile with Wasteland, and Playground, which is rebooting Fable. That is just nuts, particularly when you consider the fact that every single one of those expansive RPGs are going to be available on day one as part of your Xbox Game Pass subscription. And finally, any argument against Xbox Game Pass is null and void. There simply is no argument left against Xbox Game Pass. While I would see some folks online bemoaning the lack of AAA games as part of the service, that is now dead and buried. Regardless of whether or not Microsoft chooses to keep future Bethesda games off of the PlayStation 5, the fact of the matter is that the following mega franchises will now see all future entries launch day and date into Game Pass: Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Starfield, Doom, Wolfenstein, Quake, etc., etc. And that's on top of the Halos, Fables, Forzas, Avoweds, etc. that are already on the way. If it wasn't already, Game Pass is now a required $10 per month expense for all serious gamers, because the value in return for that $120 a year, which by the way, at some publishers' next-gen prices is not even 2 games worth, that deal is through the roof. No matter how you look at it, Microsoft acquiring one of the industry's fellow major publishers and suite of talented developers is a seismic event, one whose ramifications could affect the industry for years to come. Just when we thought that 2020 couldn't possibly have any surprises left in store for us, this happens. Generation 9 is gonna be a fun one. For more on all things Xbox, all things Bethesda, all things gaming, keep it tuned right here to IGN.